Hello everyone, this is Debo and welcome to another Wolf Flipper video. So one of the most commonly asked questions on my channel or my Wolf Flipper videos are about whether or not this account is good, that account is good, and whether or not I can actually continue with that account. And I think the answer is not really just dependent on the 5-star units that you pull, because there are a lot of other factors, and the other factors include the other supporting cards that you can get from within the pool itself, as well as the team synergies that you can actually get from the pool of heroes that you have, because you want to know what team you can actually form and what boss you can actually tackle as you start your journey in Wolf Flipper. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you guys some of the hidden gems within the 3-star units that you guys can actually keep a lookout for in your team building, because they are really powerful right now and they could be even useful in the future based on the team you want to build. And I'll explain the rationale why they are good now and why they might be good in the future. And without further ado, let us start today's video. And the first unit on this list is the well-known 3-star queen of all units, and she's none other than SHASUZU. So SHASUZU is your 3-star thunder element unit. She's super duper good. I even made a video just for her. I'll link it in the card above. She's the best support in the game and one of the most versatile to date, because she can be in any team and she can make your leader a better unit. So the reason why she's so good is because she recharges your leader unit skill gauge, boost their skill damage, as well as boost their attack. She's also able to kickstart the combo of her team with her 100% skill gauge at start of battle if you use her as a main unit. So she's a top tier unit as a main unit as well as a Unison unit. So just invest in her and you can never go wrong. And the second unit is Owlbird. So Owlbird is technically not a 3-star, but I consider Owlbird a 3-star because he's super duper good as a support unit as well. He's one of the best win Unison unit, which is easily farmable at stage 14 EX, so it's very easy to max awaken him all the way to level 100. He's another OP support that buffs attack as well as grant float in your whole team. So in case you guys don't know what float is an ability which allows your unit to actually stay longer on the field without dropping to the flippers. So this will increase your combo count tremendously and make him really good in win float related teams. And you can also use him in other teams which requires the float ability or just a minor attack buff. So he's really versatile in that aspect as well, and he's a really easily farmable good support unit. Now let's start with the thunder element first, since we are on SHASUZU. And the other thunder element 3-star that is pretty good is actually Bonnie the Bee. So Bonnie the Bee is heavily outshined by SHASUZU in the support department because her kit is just not that universal. But Bonnie is super duper good in thunder teams because she offers damage, thunder resist down, poison, as well as paralysis in her skill. So if you need a unit that feels this kind of debuff, have paralysis, poison kind of role, then Bonnie is your go-to 3-star. At the same time, she's also a feasible main unit because her main character skill grants her an attack boost, which allows her to do okay damage at this point in the game. So she's a good substitute if you do not have sufficiently good thunder units to main with. Next, we move on to the wind element. So the first wind element 3-star to keep a lookout for is HARDLIFT. So HARDLIFT is a wind exclusive support because she has an all enemy wind resist down as well as some poison attack. So her overall poison damage might not seem really eye-catching at first, but it will be good against bosses with high defense and low HP in the future. You can also use her as a main character to activate poison immunity for herself, which is actually good against bosses such as Vegetarian, which applies poison to wear your team down. Next, we have Jester. So Jester is another wind support unit with wind resist down, as well as the ability to remove multiple buffs from the enemy. So this buff removal might not be super outstanding right now, but it's gonna be super duper good with bosses that stacks up a lot of buffs. So it's a bit situational, but overall Jester is a super good wind support as well. And he deals decent damage in the early game due to his minor attack buff as well as the second and third ability, although they are not really that useful because there isn't really a lot of boss that applies paralysis right now. Next, we move on to the dark 3-star element units. Firstly, we have the Demure Daydreamer Rebecca. So she is able to provide dark resist down, Maya, which is slow apparently, as well as a skill gauge increase for all other teammates when she activates her skill. She also boosts the skill damage of all dark units when you put her in the team with her ability, and when you put her in the main slot, she's able to boost the attack of dark units with less than 50% HP, so making her a pretty decent main character as well. And she's gonna stay really relevant for the dark skill damage team simply because of how cheap she is to develop, as well as how relevant she will stay over time. And the next dark unit is Falche. So Falche is a dark element 3-star as well. She has the 100% skill gauge at battle start ability, which makes her one of the best dark unit to kickstart your team's combo. She also has the ability to boost her damage every single time your teammate resurrect from the coffin, which fits amazingly into the dark elements team of returning from the dead or dealing a lot of damage when you're really low on HP. Because a lot of the dark teams, or specifically the Belsidia dark team, loves living on the edge. They actually die a lot, and this makes Falche one of the really good unit inside because she can boost her damage every single time your teammate die and then come back. So she's gonna stay relevant in this type of archetype for very long. Next, we move on to the light units. So for light unit, the first one that I'll introduce to you guys is Karina. So Karina is pretty hot. She's a good healer with negative debuff removal in her skill, which is good against bosses that apply a lot of debuff on you. So her kit is primarily focused on healing as well as debuff and immunity against spirit. So she's a good to have, not really a super duper awesome unit, but she can fit in every single time you need her as a healer or debuffer. The second light unit is Raoul. So Raoul is a fever team damage dealer as well as a debuffer. So the current state of the light fever team isn't really that fantastic, but in the future you guys will see a massive power spike to light fever teams, and he's an amazing fever team unit because he has the ability to increase the fever gauge when your team heals, which accelerates the pace that your team goes into fever mode. And the last light unit that I recommend is Luluca. So Luluca is a damage dealer as well as a light resistance debuffer. However, her skill is kinda short, so it could be a bit hard to combo her with many units in the main slot because of the skill short difference, because her skill is really short, by the way. But she's pretty good because she buffs the attack of the whole team when she herself recovers HP, and she's also able to further buff the attack of all light units if you set her as a main unit and if your team reach a 30 combo count. So she's a pretty decent buffer as well as a debuffer at the same time. Now let's move on to the water unit. So just a disclaimer, the water units, or rather the water team in general, is just weaker at the start of global release. So water unit seems a bit underpowered. But over time, water units will get better, and these 3-star water element units are actually pretty awesome in all aspects as well. So the number 1 unit is Shirano. So Shirano is a really versatile water unit as well. And if you ask me, honestly speaking, I think she's as versatile as Albert as well as SHASUZU in some way, because her skill provides invulnerability for your whole team for 5 seconds. However, I think this part is kinda situational because most of the bosses within the game itself actually requires you to kill them as fast as possible. That's why the invulnerability might not sound that fantastic, but against certain bosses I think it's really good because some bosses deal heavy burst damage. So this skill is going to be super duper crucial against some bosses. But it's still a good to have nonetheless, right? Even though she doesn't really buff attack, but she allows you to start your combo really easily because she has plus 80% skill gauge at battle start and plus 30% skill gauge to others when she activates her skill. So she's a very good combo kickstarter, and that's why I say she's pretty versatile. Although the skill is situational right now, cause honestly speaking, invulnerability right now isn't really fantastic, but this thing will actually grow in value over time. So do invest in a Shirano if you want a 3-star unit that will last. Now the next unit, we have Faf, the cute little dragon over here. He actually is a really special unit because he's a damage spawns, pretty much like Lazarette himself. He buffs attack as well as fire resistance increase for all party members. He also has self-fire resistance increase, and when he's buffed, he can take damage for your team and further increase his own fire resist by. Basically, you can see that he's a fire damage sponge, which makes him an amazing unit to have against any fire damage related bosses. As for the last water unit, it's none other than Caillou. So Caillou is a healer, attack buffer, resistant up buffer, as well as a HP regeneration provider all at the same time. She's pretty universal, but she's obviously better in water teams, but still a really good unit that you can slot in nearly any team based on the current state of the game. And move on to the last few units within the fire element. The first one is none other than the fire SHASUZU, which is Annie. So Annie is probably one of the hidden fire 5-star unit in the game, because her ability as well as her function works similarly to SHASUZU. So she provides fire resistance down, reduced attack, and buff removal on hit foes with her skill, and she also has the 100% skill gauge on battle start, which allows her to kickstart your team combo like the many others mentioned earlier. Lastly, she's an amazing main as well as Unison character as well, because she provides attack buff as well as plus skill gauge whenever she activates her skill and when the other fire units activate their skills respectively. Okay, and we come to the last character on today's video, and he's none other than Jin. So Jin is very similar to Karina, being a healer and attack buffer for the fire teams. However, what makes him really special and really good is his ability to provide party immunity to poison, which makes him an awesome main unit to have under certain situations. And that's it for this video. So as you guys realize by now, most of the good 3-star units, they actually have really good buffs, debuffs, heal, or the ability to kickstart the team's combo. The reason is pretty straightforward, because in the future, as more and more 5-star units come out, the DPS compartment will definitely be covered by the 5-star unit, so the 3-star unit can't really compete in the long run. And these 3-star units, they are super duper valuable because their supportive role is so good that you can use them even till the late game. That's why I recommend them to you guys. Thank you very much for watching. Do remember to like and subscribe in order to see more Wolf Flipper content from this channel, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!